red Devon breeders in the American West: Montana, Utah, Washington, and Idaho. Our western summers are dry. Our winters are long. Our farms are often high elevation. Our soils are thin, and hay prices increase as drought advances. Yet our Devons calve and grow and establish themselves in new places each year. This video presents a broad range of Western Devon breeders, proving how Devons are thriving far from their original landing place in North America 400 years ago. Jenny Carl, Montana Red Devon, with her former husband, Mark Sabo, and their sons Riley and Kirill Sabo, established Devon's first real long-term beachhead in the West in 2007. They were looking for cattle that would thrive on a low-carbohydrate diet and were gentle enough to raise with small children. Sound familiar? The Montana Red Devon Ranch is in Montana's highest valley at 5,200 feet, 1,500 meters, elevation. Our rainfall is thin. Our first frost arrives around August 29th, and it snows lightly through at least until mid-May. We have even had a hard frost on July 5th. Mongolia's grasslands? That's our environment here. Open, dry, and windy with strong winter storms, occasional blizzards, and high-protein, low-carbohydrate grasses. We build frame. The American Midwest soils grow the carbohydrates to fatten cattle. Our Devon cattle spend every day, all year, in the open fields, and we calve in April when the grass is just telling us that it's alive. In 2007, that first Montana Red Devon was an E.T. Rotakawa bull, purchased to put over 30 Red Angus heifers, and Gerald Fry inserted 14 Devon embryos in those Red Angus heifers. In 2008, Sabo Abby and Sabo Abel were born. 8 more E.T. Devon calves arrived in 2009. Jenny has never looked back. Jenny's sons Riley and Kirill Sabo, now 24 and 21, were fully involved with the Devons and their beef throughout their childhoods on the ranch. They were indispensable as the family calved out Devons, moved Devons, branded Devons, and vaccinated and bred Devons, and generally admired Devon's gentle temperament and excellent grass-fed beef. Riley and Kirill woke early before school to help with calving, battled snowdrifts in the midwinter dark to make sure our Devons survived, and moved miles and miles of electric fence and irrigation equipment for summer grazing through all their years at home. After a few issues with bad udders, dwarfism, heart failure, and blindness with the original Rotakawa and American Devons in the early years, Jenny decided that outcrossing was a good idea. After a long internet search, Vic Edwards and his Vic's Devons proved a terrific connection. His encouragement and the welcome that Alison Heap and Vic Edwards gave us in New South Wales in Australia in 2015 were fantastic. The Sabo Carl family took an agricultural, cultural, wildlife trip around the world in 2014 and 2015 and visited many different Devon breeders along the way. Angus and Joy Cotty in Devonshire, England. Graham Dyke, T. Mawa. Arthur Beasley, Topaway. And his partner, Tuppy, Thelmara, in New Zealand. And Vic Edwards, and Allison Heap, Vix and Gowan Ross, and the Hall family, Gundui, and the Wright family with Ben Oak Devons. Very generously opened their doors and their fields and their herds to us during that voyage. Jenny imported semen from 5 different excellent Devon bulls in 2016. Montana Red Devons now has offspring from Vix Jurassic, Gowan Ross Gentleman, Topaway 912, and Timewa Oban on the ground, with lots more Topaway 143 and Vix Jurassic offspring due for 2024. Numerous Devon breeders across the U.S. are currently testing out these genetics from those 5 bulls in every North American environment, from northern Mexico's deserts to high-elevation Utah pastures in the Rocky Mountains, to Wisconsin's green lands, and Pennsylvania's and Virginia's rich, hilly fields. Jenny is happy to say that those bulls chosen by those experienced, principled Devon breeders down under are thriving in North America. Jenny thanks all of those breeders from the bottom of her heart. Her dream of hardy, well-built, fertile Devons who function, grow, and compete alongside North America's hybrid beef herds is coming true. Devons are doing it. Jenny and Montana Red Devons have sold Devons all over the North American West, and the remainder of this video follows other, newer breeders who have fallen in love with Devons and are testing Red Devons in other environments. Settlers to the American West often traveled the rivers to get from the East Coast to the West. St. Louis, Missouri marked the true beginning of the West and the start of the Great Plains, where rivers petered out into streams and water was scarce. Devons pulled many wagons west from St. Louis, Missouri, from the 1840s to the 1910s. Devons were a preferred breed for oxen due to their docility and fast walking speed. Here following are more Western Devon breeders. In Montana, we see Montana Red Devon, the Huntley family, Selly Valley Ranch, Rise Ranch, and Jeffrey and Maria Jessup. Annabelle Huntley is showing Montana Kelsey, Montana H4, Montana Gabby, at the 4-H fair in Bozeman, Montana. Anna paid full price for this heifer with her previous 4-H sales earnings and will show Kelsey in breeding class in 2024. Emmeline Huntley and Montana Kelsey demonstrate the reason Devons are terrific 4-H animals: docility. Montana Kelsey also demonstrates the urban farm owned by the Huntleys. Surrounded on all 4 sides by roads, warehouses, and other homes, she's thriving. Jeffrey and Maria Jessup live in Corvallis, Montana. They bought Abiding Acres H10, which Jenny bought from David Fell in Wisconsin. H10 has now adapted well on his second Montana ranch. Idaho, Selly Valley Ranch. Sherry DeRozier grew up with cattle, as her grandfather was a cattle rancher in Idaho. She also spent weeks as a child riding ATVs with her Aunt Leslie Kinney, who's Jenny Carl's neighbor, as Leslie managed the water irrigation district's water flow to each of the watershed's ranches. In her 40s, Sherry decided it was time to get her own cows. She researched breeds for docility and ability to thrive on grass. And Devons floated to the top of the heap again. Sherry and her daughter McCarley moved their Devons on horseback. That's good for both cattle and horses. Sherry's herd started with several Montana Red Devon females and a few steers. Rain, trees, and thin, acid soils over glacial remains are the characteristics of Selly Valley Ranch. McCarley, her daughter, will be showing a haltered Devon Cross steer this year for 4-H and is considering showing a female Devon next year in the breeding class. Sherry uses a freeze brand on her cattle. The steel branding iron is frozen in a tub of liquid nitrogen. The brand kills the pigment cells in the skin so the hair grows back white. The brand is red, A bar hanging D. Gabe McCarley and Sherry DeRosier. Utah, Rockin' D Ranch, Beaver, Utah. Rod Davis, Rockin' D Ranch in Beaver, Utah, has bought red Devon cows and steers for several years from Montana Red Devons. His ranch is at 5,000 feet, 1,500 meter, elevation, with some of the very best irrigation water in the whole state of Utah. Igneous rock filtered, the Beaver River, which runs through the ranch and provides sweet, clear, pH-neutral water, is an excellent factor in sweet, grass-fed Rockin' D Devon beef. Rockin' D's finish here on a Montana Red Devon steer, a Rotokawa 357. Beautiful. Rod says that once a customer purchases a Devon, they never go back to Angus. Grass finishing in the winter Utah highlands. The Longhorns clearly get the best space at the bunk, but that gentle Devon steer just slides in between for plenty of feed. The state of Washington. Palouse River Premium Beef and Stonecrest Farm and Grazers. The Palouse River Ranch, eastern Washington, on the border with Idaho. Richard Griffiths III and his son Riley Griffiths of Palouse River Premium Beef in the great open grasslands of far eastern Washington state have bought several Devon bulls from Montana Red Devons to put over their mixed Devon and Wagyu cow herd. Richard Griffiths, a 30-year urban Seattle carpenter, sold out of that life and bought his farm in 2012. Richard runs 2 herds. His Devons were purchased originally from Gerald Fry and Greg Hickel, and his Wagyu cattle were originally purchased from Dr. Jerry Reeves, who was very influential in the importation of Wagyu to the U.S. Palouse River raises their breeding stock on grass, but corn finishes their Devon and Wagyu beeves. Our farthest western Devon cattle breeder lives in the chilly waters of Puget Sound, northeast of Seattle, Washington. Micah Meissner and her husband, Michael McMahon, run Stonecrest Farm and Grazers in the middle of Lopez Island in the San Juans. Everything arrives by boat, even cattle on their trailer. Here, Jenny Carl of Montana Red Devons is delivering 9 Devons to Lopez Island across 750 miles of road and 1 ferry ride. After 15 hours in the trailer, the Devon crew stepped calmly off and went to grazing. That's Devons. Low-protein grasses are the norm on Lopez Island, and Devons do it well. They have wet winters and hot, dry summers. Here, the beeves are in a roofed feed bunk, while the cows are fed outdoors in a field on a rocky crest that does not form mud. Management-intensive grazing at Stonecrest has promoted lush growth in every field they are now using. Here is a Montana Red Devons bull on Lopez Island. Thank you for watching from Jenny Carl, Montana Red Devons. Devons forever. This film was written by Jenny Carl. The photos came from Jenny Carl, Riley Sabo, Sherry DeRosier, Rod Davis, Riley Griffiths, and Micah Meissner. And it was edited by Riley Sabo.